And I previously reviewed the Rove R2-4K Pro. If you guys want to see that full review video, I'll put a link to it in the description down below. On this video, I'm going to give you a complete tour of the setup menu, and I'm going to explain each setting. That way you can learn to use this dashcam and use it to its full potential. As always, I have placed a link in the description down below to this dashcam in case you want to get one for yourself. And to get to the settings, I'm going to tap the menu button. And notice that there are arrows that I can use to navigate the menu and an OK button. I'm going to go down to the first option, and that's going to be resolution. Now here we're giving several choices. The highest we can put it on is 4K at 30 frames per second, or we can lower the resolution at 2K, but now we get more frames per second. We get 60 frames a second. And usually a higher frame rate can potentially allow you to capture fast moving objects with a better chance than 30 frames per second, and potentially even more detail, potentially license plates. You could also lower that to 2K at 30 frames per second, or lower it to full high definition, either at 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. Now, why would you want to lower the resolution? If you were trying to fit more hours of video into your memory card. My choice is always going to be for higher frame rate, so I'm going to select 2K at 60 frames per second. Next up is going to be loop recording, and dashcams record video continuously, but they segment the video into smaller manageable chunks of video, and here you can select how long you want those individual video clips to be, either 1 minute, which is the default, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. Now what's interesting is that this dashcam also offers the option to turn off loop recording, and then it's going to record video clips up to a maximum duration of 4 gigabytes in size before starting the next video clip. Now I do not recommend you turn off loop recording. I would say pick either 1, 3 minutes, 5, or 10 minutes. I personally think that 1 minute default recommendation by Rove is a good one. Next up is gonna be the G sensor. Now this allows the dashcam to detect when you get into a car crash, and it's gonna flag and protect the video for you based on that impact. One is gonna be the most sensitive. Any little bump on the road is gonna trigger the dashcam. Potentially even you closing the door could trigger the dashcam, thinking that you're crashing left to right, so that might be too sensitive. So you wanna experiment with your vehicle until you find a spot where it doesn't give you too many false car crashes. 5 is somewhere around a middle in terms of sensitivity, and if you wanted it to be the least sensitive, that will be number 9. 9 is only going to be triggered on a very large impact. You could also turn off the G sensor. However, I do not recommend you turn it off. I do like that the dashcam is able to tell when you get into a car crash if you enable the G sensor. So I would say start around 5 and adjust from there. Moving over to the next page of settings, wide dynamic range. This can potentially give you better image quality under certain conditions. The default is on. You can turn this off and see if you like the video that way. I personally always find that leaving wide dynamic range on provides me with the best video quality. Next up is going to be exposure. Now this by default is going to be under 0, where it automatically adjusts. If the image is too bright or too dark, the camera can adjust for it automatically, and that's where I like to leave mine. However, if you find that the video is too bright, you can begin to decrease the exposure by going into negative numbers, or if you find that the video is too dark, you can begin to increase the exposure so the video is going to appear brighter. But again, my preference is going to be to leave this under auto. Next up is going to be time-lapse recording. Instead of recording normal video, you can choose to record a time lapse. Now you are able to customize the time lapse either 4 frames per second or 2 frames per second or 1 frame per second. 1 frame per second is gonna reduce the file size and potentially allow you to capture a longer time lapse, but it's not gonna be as smooth as selecting 4 frames per second. Now I do not like using time lapse for recording my drives. I like recording normal video at normal speed, so I'm gonna turn off the time lapse. Next up is gonna be video compression. Now there are 2 options here, either H.264 or H.265. Now both Both of them are going to give you great image quality. However, H.264 is going to be more compatible with older computers and older phones, and H.265 is going to be more compatible with newer phones and newer computers, and it also has the advantage that the file size is a little bit smaller, so you could potentially fit more video. Next up is going to be video bitrate. This also relates to video quality and the file size. If you wanted to fit more hours of video into the dashcam, you can decrease the video bitrate. The quality is going to be a little bit lower. Or if you really wanted to maximize the potential of the dashcam, you want to select max. Now this is going to be a larger file, but this is going to give you the best image quality. Next up is going to be park mode, and this requires the optional hardwire kit. If you attempt to enable the park mode without the hardwire kit, it is not gonna let you. And if you do have the hardwire kit, you get 3 options for park mode. Now the last one is gonna be the most basic, collision detection only, meaning that when the dashcam is in park mode, if somebody impacts the vehicle, the dashcam is gonna turn on and make a record of it. However, these 2 right here are gonna be more advanced park mode options, and I personally like selecting from one of these 2. The very first one, when the dashcam goes into park mode, it is gonna begin to create a time lapse. That way it captures the entire time that the car was parked, but also if it feels an impact, then it's gonna switch from time lapse and it's gonna record normal video, so it can record that incident, and then it's gonna return back to time lapse. And motion detection is also a good choice because the dashcam is gonna wake up when it sees movement, or it's gonna wake up when it feels that an impact has taken place. Now it is important to point out that time lapse and motion detection consume more power from your vehicle when it is off in order for you to have that advanced park mode features than collision detection. So if you were trying to monitor your car for a long period of time, you want to consume the least amount of power from your battery, and that could be done by selecting collision detection only instead of these 2 guys, which consume a little bit more power. Next up is gonna be park mode G sensor. Now this is very important because this allows you to customize how sensitive you want the dashcam to be to an impact when the car is under park mode. Number 1 is gonna be the most sensitive. Any small little impact is gonna make the dashcam wake up and it's gonna make a record of that event. So this could potentially create a lot of false park mode incidents. Perhaps a car with a loud exhaust passed by and now the dashcam wakes up thinking that somebody crashed into your vehicle. And you could begin to change this number to decrease the sensitivity of the park mode G sensor, and you can select 9, and now only a very large impact is gonna wake up the dashcam under park mode. Next up is gonna be record audio. The dashcam by default is gonna record video and audio. However, for privacy purposes, if you're looking to have top secret conversations, you can turn off audio recording and the dashcam is only gonna record video. Next up is gonna be the video stamps, and these are the watermarks that are shown on the video, and each one can be customized on here, particularly the one for speed. Some people don't want to have their speed recorded, or some people may not want to have their location recorded. You can turn those off if you wanted to. Next up is gonna be speed unit, and here you get the option to select either kilometers per hour or miles per hour. Now the high status option, this allows you to turn off all the little icons that come up on the screen, and I'll show you what this icon looks like. And you can see that there's a ton of information on the screen, and eventually after a period of time those icons are gonna go away, giving you a very nice clean view of the road. Next up is gonna be light speed and compass, and this is the information that is shown on the dashcam screen. It is not the watermarks, and you can choose to turn them off. If you don't want them, you can turn them off individually. Next up, we get the option to rotate the video. Now this is quite interesting because this allows you to mount the camera upside down, and if you mount the camera upside down, if you enable video rotate, now the video is gonna look correct. Because my dashcam is not mounted upside down, I'm gonna turn this off. Moving over to system settings. The first one is gonna be Wi-Fi. Now here you have 3 choices: to turn on the Wi-Fi just once so you can connect to the dashcam, or to turn it on and always leave it on. My recommendation is that if you don't change the default password, the safest way to have this will be on the off position and only turn it on when you need it. Now, I know some people don't want to go in here and turn it on manually every time, so you could choose to leave it on, but again, be very careful because you would not want somebody hopping on your Wi-Fi if you still have the default password. Next up is going to be Wi-Fi mode, and here we get two choices, either 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. Now, if your phone supports 5 gigahertz, this is going to be the way to go because this can potentially provide you with faster download speeds when accessing videos from the dashcam. The next option is going to be the format option. Now, this is going to erase all the videos on the dashcam at once, so you want to be careful when you go on here. Now, it is also recommended to use this function every time a brand new memory card has been installed on the dashcam for best performance. Next option is going to be date and time. Now, this information is going to come automatically from the GPS that the dashcam has. However, you can change that information in here manually if you wanted to. The date format can also be adjusted, and here is just a matter of preference. I'm going to leave mine on the default. Same with the time format. You can choose either 12 hours, which is AM, PM, or you can enter into 24 hours, which is military time. I'm going to leave mine on the default. And the next option is going to be time zone. If you recall, I said that the dashcam can get the date and time automatically from the GPS, but it is important to tell the dashcam where you're located at, and that is your time zone number. Now, if you select the incorrect time zone, you could potentially end up with the incorrect time and potentially the incorrect date. So you want to make sure you set the correct time zone to the one that you're located on. Next up is going to be the screensaver, and we get three choices in here. The very first one is to have the dashcam always show what it is recording. That is the default, and that's the one that I personally like. However, you can choose to enable a screensaver, and here's what that looks like. And this kind of gives you minimal information. Or you can choose for the dashcam to turn off its screen completely off automatically after 1 minute, but it continues recording in the background in what I call stealth mode recording. Next up is gonna be screen brightness, and here you get three choices, low, medium, or high. I'm gonna leave mine on the default. Next up is gonna be beep sound. Notice that every time I tap on a key, you get that beeping sound. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. Now no more beeping sound, which is actually what I like. And as you may have noticed, the dashcam actually talks to you. However, if you wanted to disable the voice prompts, you could do so right here. However, I like to leave them on because they're kind of a nice way to hear what the dashcam is doing without having to look at the screen. So I'm gonna leave mine on. Moving over to the next page, we have the boot up tone. Now this is the sound that the dashcam makes every time it turns on. You could choose to turn that off if you don't want to hear that. Now TV mode is quite interesting because here you can select whether you are going to be playing back these videos on a TV that is NTSC, which is normally North America, or if the videos are going to be played back somewhere in Europe where they use PAL. And if you wanted to enter your license plate, you could do so, and then it's going to show up on the video recorded as a watermark. Next page is going to be frequency. Now here you want to select 60 Hz if you are in the United States or 50 Hz if you are in Europe, and this is going to reduce any potential flickering of any lights that the dashcam may capture. And under GPS info, there is nothing to change here. This just shows you the current coordinates where you're located, and the coordinates, the format of them can be adjusted between decimal degrees or degrees, minutes, and seconds. I leave mine on the default one. Moving over to the next page of settings, there is a little LED indicator on here. However, you could choose to disable that for complete stealth recording. I like to just glance at the dashcam and see that it is indicating this LED, so I'm going to leave mine on default. And if you wanted to restore the dashcam to its default settings, that could be done with this default settings option. And now that you know how to use this dashcam to its full potential, you might want to see the rest of its features. Remember, I put a link to that full review video in the description down below, along with a link to this dashcam in case you want to get one for yourself. And if you have any other questions regarding this, please put that in the comments down below. If you found any part of this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button to support the channel, and stay tuned as I have a lot more dashcam reviews coming up. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.